Hey, I'm Dan Pontefract, and this is my Leading Remote Team series where I go through 10 specific actions I want leaders to take to become better remote leaders. In this particular episode, how to engage and motivate the team. Well, humor may help. Here's a text that I saw online. I am here for you, said the iMessage. Thanks, I'm going through a tough time, so it means a lot, and sorry I lost all my context. Who is this? This is your Uber driver. I'm here to pick you up. These are interesting times, and interesting times call for Thomas Kilmann. His modes of interaction, essentially of conflict, are really a good way for us to define how we might get our teams to be engaged from a remote distance when they're working from home and virtually. Basically, on the y-axis is your level of assertiveness, and on the x-axis, that's at the bottom, that's your level of cooperation or cooperativeness. And what Kilmann did was kind of identify 5 key ways in which people are either being non-assertive or unassertive, I suppose, and uncooperative in varying degrees, to the point in which if you got to the top right, you're doing it right. Now, what I did was kind of look at this from types of animals. So if you were in the top left, and you're just being assertive and you're not being cooperative, it's win-lose, and you're a shark. That is not great leadership. So don't be a shark. If you are losing, that means you're avoiding. You're a turtle, i.e. your head's going into the shell. You're avoiding the situation, you're avoiding the fact that your team needs you to lead in desperate times. So don't avoid, don't be a loser. Next up on the bottom right, if you are too cooperative and still not assertive as a leader, particularly in the situation where people are working from home now, you are the teddy bear. It's a lose-win. Although you're kind of nice, you're too nice. You're overly nice. And your deliverables are not going to get done. So you need to issue a bit of assertiveness, somewhat obviously, unless, nothing gets done while everyone's working from home. In the middle is the compromise way. This is sort of almost perfect, where you're kind of the fox, where it's a partial win, it's a partial loss. You're kind of assertive and kind of cooperative, but not perfect. If you want perfection, you're a humpback. And why do I consider the humpback to be the win-win of remote leadership? Well, metaphors. Here's behind me the humpback whales. Now, the interesting thing about the humpbacks is they don't travel around in a family like the orca whales. There's no kind of family pod. They're individual creatures. And when they want to eat half of the time, they do this. It's called bubble net fishing, where they somehow work together and they use their spouts and they blow off air so they distract the fish, and then they all take turns feeding. Now, the remarkable thing about the humpbacks is that they have to be both assertive and cooperative to get to that collaborative range. Now, you want something even more remarkable? This act of bubble net fishing is innate. No, it's not. No, it's not innate. It's learned. They have to teach each other this. They have to teach a level of assertiveness and cooperation in order to be collaborative. I find that remarkable. Thus, the metaphor is that you're a teacher of collaboration. You're a leader if you are exerting the right level of assertiveness and cooperation to be this humpback whale. So a few tips. Involve the team, but cut it off when it gets too much. That's the act of cooperation and assertiveness. Be crystal clear in that inclusivity while you're doing it, but again, be crystal clear that the decision's been made. Let's move forward. Don't dallyway around your way that particular issue. Provide feedback so that cooperativeness comes out. You're asking for questions, and you're delivering feedback to the individual so they understand that you are there for them in the act of collaboration. Don't sit on a fence. Don't wait. Your assertiveness needs to be timely. You need to be responsive, and if not, people sit there and wonder where you went. If you're more proactive in your assertiveness, telling people why decisions have been made, and more proactive in cooperating, i.e. adding people to the mix, that's going to go to quell fears people have from working from home and not seeing you. Could you possibly use what I call the 3 L's? Look, listen, and learn. Looking around virtually through emails, discussion forums, whatever you're using, listening in on the queries or issues that the team might be having, particularly now you're not seeing them face to face every day. And can you learn from what some of that mistakes or some of that feedback or some of those ideas are and employ that? And then lastly, you could possibly end up with virtual silos. If you have virtual silos, people aren't going to be loving their jobs, people aren't going to be loving their work, and then the stress and the anxiety starts to ensue. So your job is to make sure you're collaborating, you're the humpback, you're bringing everyone together to feed. That's your job, because you're a leader of remote teams. That's the end of this episode of Leading Remote Teams. I'm Dan Pontefract. Thanks for watching.